Don't you like to feel important whenever your partner notices something about you or tells you that you have a beautiful smile or you look beautiful in that outfit or congratulations on getting that promotion, etc., right? So don't you feel good when your partner does that to you? So my question for you today is, how often are you intentionally making your partner feel appreciated, feel important? So how often are you intentionally making your partner feel important? Now, making is relative, really. It's mainly a figure of speech more than anything, because it really depends on the mindset of the person that you are speaking to in order for them to understand their own importance. That is not something that you can make them feel. That is something that they already need to know and feel on their own. However, right? Sorry if it's a little windy. Sorry about that. However, though, the importance is relative, again, depending on the mindset of the spouse that you are talking to. See, we are in these adult relationships, and so we have to learn how to create healthy relationships, because most of us were not exposed to a healthy relationship. Most of us were exposed to toxic relationships and or toxicity, toxic traits, toxic habits, toxic behaviors, and we see those as the norm. Well, guess what? They're not the norm. Sis, they are not the norm. And so in order for you to create a healthy relationship, first of all, you have to recognize that there is something that you are doing wrong. You may not know how to fix it, but the first step is really understanding and recognizing, okay, I don't know everything. I don't know how to do this. And so where can I go to get said information? So I am making intelligent decisions, intelligent choices, showing up in a manner that makes me feel proud, that makes me feel like I chose a great partner, etc., right? So in order to do that, you have to lean in and get with the person, people, the books, the podcast, etc., that have the information that you need in order for you to be successful. On top of that, the only way for you to be successful is for you, yes, you who are listening to this right now, to implement what you are learning. Now, you're not going to implement everything, because you're not going to be ready for everything. There's also a lot of areas in which we as people must work on. And so if you're just starting your journey, it's okay to work on one thing at a time. Actually, that is the desired, and that's the desired effect or effect that you should be looking for, is to say, okay, I curse too much, or I know that I nag too much, right? So because I nag too much, this next 6 weeks, 8 weeks, 52 weeks, whatever your date is, I am going to work on me not being a nagging spouse. And then you find out, right? You go out there and get the strategies and tools for yourself to work on not being a nagging spouse. Now, that is just an example. There are plenty of examples out there, but if you're just starting out, start with one thing that you want to be intentionally better at in order to change the trajectory around in your relationship, because sis, you have the power to do just that. You can go and watch all the podcasts that you want to. You could come and search on YouTube for hours and hours and hours, but until you start to implement the things that you are learning, it really doesn't matter that you sat there for hours upon hours taking in all of the information and you do nothing with it. You are too scared to implement. Whatever your reasoning is why you have yet to do the work, it does not help you with just knowing the information, because only applied knowledge is power. Just having the knowledge, you might as well not even have the knowledge if you're not going to apply. I digress. So I want you to understand that you have the power to make your partner feel important, and you like it when you feel important. You like it when you get noticed. And so I'm just going to run some things by you just to make you think. There are a plethora of other things that I could have mentioned, but these 5 to 7 stood out to me, and that I want to bring them here today. So one of the ways that you can intentionally show your partner that he is important to you is to show your admiration for the things that he does, the talents that he has, the talents that he's owning, the talents that he is displaying and showing up in the world doing, right? And a lot of us don't really know what our partners do on the job, right? They can come home and tell us, but because most of us have not experienced the exact same type of work that our spouse has, we still have a limited view or bird's eye view of what's actually going on behind the scenes. And so when you get an opportunity to get these chances to be around him at work, or to hear what his coworkers and superiors have to say about him, then please show him admiration. Now, it doesn't have to be in the career, right? It literally could be that he is a top businessman, right? Or it could be that he's doing really, really well with you in a particular area. Show him admiration and let him know that you notice, which is actually the second thing, that you notice not only the big things, but you also notice the little things. And we have I want to say an issue, but kind of okay, this is what it is. We're taking the little things for granted and we're only focusing on the bigger things, when really not realizing that a lot of the connections that happen in your relationship or in your marriage comes through the small things, the small repetitive things, after all, right? So the big things matter, but the little things matter more. Or I should say matter just as much, if not more. Let me say it that way. Because the little things literally are, again, we always talk about taking out the trash, right? So taking out the trash, or opening up the car door, or bringing a cup of coffee, or stopping at the store to pick up a favorite item just because, or just literally thinking about them, taking something off of their plate. It could be folding the laundry. It could be helping out with the domestic duties. It could be a plethora of anything that you could implement into this thing, but showing your admiration. And then even number two, which is noticing the big as well as the little things that he is doing, just to let him know, what, you are important in my life. The third thing is to literally open up your mouth and tell him. A lot of us just go along with that. He should know. And you're right, he actually should know, but it feels really good to hear it. If you want to hear it and you like it or you love it, trust me, men are different in the way that they don't talk about these things as much as women, but they want and need it just as much as women, to again feel that connection, but also to feel important to you as his partner, to feel important to you as his spouse. Because the one thing about our relationships and our partners and spouses is that they want to win with us. We want to win with them, but guess what? They really want to win with us too. So you noticing the big and the little things will take your partner's self-esteem and confidence and raise it up in ways that you don't even recognize. So verbalizing all of these things will help him to understand the importance of him being in your life, right? So that's the third thing. The fourth thing is to make sure that you are investing your time, your energy, and your focus on your spouse, so you can really connect on a deeper level to what he's saying, how he's feeling, the goals that he's trying to attain. And then both of you really can swap stories and really continuously get to know and understand who's across the table from you, or who's lying next to you in bed. So that distance that so many couples experience, you don't have to be a part of that. But you, because you're watching this, right? I'm not necessarily putting it off on the woman only, but because you're watching this, it is now your duty to do something about it. Because again, if you have the information and you do nothing with it, you might as well not even have the information. Literally, might as well just click off the video and move on with your life and stay where you're at. But you're probably here because you don't necessarily like where you're at, or you're like, you know what, it's not bad, but I know that it can be better. And so you're still working on creating a healthier relationship. You're working on creating a deeper bond. You want to understand your spouse better. And so things like this, coming to get the information, but then applying it, is really going to change the trajectory of your relationship around in a much better way than you even believe can happen. And it really is the small things that we do on a daily basis that actually creates the relationship that we have today. So you think about all of the times that you feel good about your spouse. It's not necessarily that one instance. When you think about that one instance, you start thinking about all the other things that he did to make you feel special, to make you feel beautiful, to make you feel loved, to make you feel appreciated, right? And so guess what? He wants to feel the exact same thing. Again, he may not verbalize it as much as women, because we just have a knack to be able to verbalize about our relationships much better most of the time than men. And it really has to do a lot to do with the way that we were nurtured as children. But I digress because that is not this video, right? That's another video. But invest your time, energy, and focus on connecting deeply with your spouse in order to feel like, oh, I do actually know him. So if somebody was to come out of the blue and tell you anything about your partner or your spouse, you're like, you can blow it off because you already know who your spouse is, right? Like that even comes down to even the foul stuff that they could put the blame on your spouse about. You know who you're dealing with, right? And so I had a client a while back, and I remember she was telling me a story about how her mom did not accept her boyfriend at the time, who was now her husband, didn't accept him, and they found out some information about her boyfriend, and they were basically coming to tattletale like, see, we told you he's not good enough for you, X, Y, and Z. And basically she was able to shut all of that down because he had revealed his whole self to her before they said I do to one another. And so when her mom came to her with this shenanigans to try to let her know, you see, you choosing wrong, she was like, yeah, he told me that and more. Like, I know what you're trying to say because we've already had a discussion about that. So he had already revealed himself, which kudos to him, because most people don't reveal themselves and then they wonder why they're in the types of relationships that they're actually in. And this may be one person, it could be both of them. Right? Most of the time it's one person, but absolutely, it definitely could be both parties. So you want to make your partner feel important by investing your time, energy, and focus on what they have to say. The fifth thing is to ask follow-up questions. Now, you know, when your spouse tells you that they have like this important date, this important speech, they can't wait to X, Y, and Z to come up. Right? And most of the time it's weeks or months away. And because it's not your thing, you're not necessarily paying attention to it. Well, I would really, really like it if you would make yourself a note to ask about that thing either the day of that it happens or the following day. Because most of us have so much other things to do. And it could be an alarm where you literally name the alarm, ask Stanley about X, Y, and Z project. Or it could be written in your calendar or somewhere where it's going to give you a notification to ask. Now, that doesn't necessarily sound sexy, but however come, and guess what? When that date comes, you are going to remember, oh yeah, I did want to understand, or I did want to find out what actually happened with X, Y, and Z. Because maybe he doesn't bring it up because he has a lot of other stuff going on in his mind and the things that he's trying to take care of as well. And so again, to make him feel that you were listening, number one, but also that he is important to you and important in your life. Now you can ask him follow-up questions about that very important thing that he shared with you that was coming up. That is now either that day or has passed, like yesterday or even the day after, but very recently. So ask follow-up questions. The sixth thing is to ask your baby to teach you something that you know he is really good at. Now, I know that not everybody, I know that a lot of people can relate to men playing some form of game, whether it's a video game, whatever it is, right? He could be in a league of chess, whatever it is, some form of a game or sports or something like that, right? And you can actually teach him, to ask him to teach you how to play or what to look for, how to understand the game, if you will, right? That way you two can connect on that level. You two can have conversations about it. This is something that he that is near and dear to his heart, where he can open up and share his expertise on the subject, and you can make him feel important just by you asking him to teach you X, Y, and Z. Now, again, all of this is going to depend on the mindset and where your spouse is. Can he handle conversations like this when you're making him feel important? How does he look at himself? Does he actually feel that he is an important man, an important person, given what he needs to give to this world, honoring what he has been called to do? And if not, then this is not, honestly, this conversation is not going to go well, because he's going to think that you just want something versus you just paying him absolute, genuine compliments about himself, making him feel important by recognizing who he actually is and how he's showing up, and the things and the valuables that he's not only bringing to you and to the family, but also sharing with the world. So all of this is going to be dependent on the mindset of your man and how the conversation is going to be revealed. Please keep that in mind, because it is something very big. And if you always feel that you always have to stroke the ego over and over and over again, literally that can be tiresome. It really can. And it can take a toll on you as the girlfriend or wife who has to do that. Air quotes, has to do that, right? Number 7 is to value his time. Now, all of these things need to be reciprocated, absolutely. But we're talking about you because you're watching this, right? So valuing his time means that when you say that you're going to be ready at a time, that you be ready at that time and be ready to go at that time. Not still putting on makeup, and or can you put on your makeup in the car, right? Like, but you're fully dressed, you're ready to go out the door, and maybe you can put on your foundation if that's your thing. Put on your foundation in the house, but maybe leave your lips for the car, or your mascara, or even your eyeliner, whatever it is, so you guys are out the door. Because that is the one thing that we cannot get back. Excuse me. Time is the one thing that none of us can get back. And so if I, as your man, can sit on the couch for an additional 30 minutes, or work out at the gym for an additional 30 minutes, or read my book for an additional 30 minutes because you know that your thing is always being late, then how about we just push the time back 30 minutes? But in your mind, you need to keep it at the regular time because you're always late. And if you push it back 30 minutes, that means you're going to still be 30 minutes late. So value his time, whatever yours. And that was just one example about being ready, but it is also something that I keep hearing men still say to this day, that their wife, that the girlfriend is always late, getting dressed, saying to be ready at a particular time, and she is not ready at that particular time. There are a plethora of things that is showing him that you do not value his time, but getting dressed late all the time, or always being late to meet him, or whatever the thing is about being late, you need to put a handle on that, because that is not making him feel important. All right. So value his time. The final tip of the day is to, if you have not done this in a long time, is to make him feel important, is to send him a text, because we're in the day of technology. Send him an email, a handwritten letter, or just write a simple note on a sticky note, stick it in his briefcase. If he carries a briefcase, stick it in his scrubs. If he goes, some type of hospital or clinic or whatever it is, but a place that he's going to see this note, and you can literally just tell him that you are important in my life. I am Marshawn Olanio. Please let me know down in the comment section below which one or two of these tips have helped you out and that you are going to implement. I am very serious, and I read the comments. I absolutely reply back to the comments, because it's very important. If you're coming to my channel, then I want us together, specifically in my community, to be able to decrease the divorce rate while simultaneously increasing the marriage rate, one conversation at a time, by taking one action at a time. I love you guys, and there's nothing that you can do about it, and I will see you in the next video. Deuces, y'all.